Welcome to Intuitive Flow, hosted by me, Mikaela, intuitive energy healer and mindset mentor. You've landed in the space you need to be to hear the no bullshit truth about how to actually manifest the life that you crave. This is the podcast that's here to shake you awake. It's time to unapologetically step into the woman you came here to be, the one who effortlessly attracts everything she desires. Let's flow. Today's episode is such an important conversation, especially for the women who feel like they're constantly being asked to choose between being an entrepreneur and having a successful business and choosing to be a mother. I'm sitting down with Katja, a business coach, former tech girly turned six-figure entrepreneur and new mom. And together, we're talking about what it actually looks like to hold ambition and motherhood at the same time. We unpack the myths women have been taught about success after becoming a mother, the identity shifts that happen when your life expands in new ways, and why redefining success and asking for help isn't weakness, it's the best thing that you can do for yourself. This conversation is for the woman who wants more, loves deeply, and is learning to trust that she's not behind, she's right on time. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Intuitive Flow. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Katja, and I am so excited to have her on. She is a tech girly gone full-blown entrepreneur, is now running a six-figure business of her own, and she is new to motherhood, and I am just so excited to have her on. So Katja, the first question that I have just right out of the gate for you is, so many women listening are either moms or feel torn between like wanting a successful business and being present for their family. From your lived experience, what is the biggest lie you feel women have been taught about motherhood and ambition that you've had to unlearn?
Ooh, such a good question. I am going through this right now. So for your listeners, I am a mom of a 14-month-old daughter. So I would argue I'm still relatively new, but it's kind of cool because I'm learning and growing in real time. So no filter over here. I think the number one lie that I had believed was that I can't do both. So one of my biggest fears was becoming a mom. And I am an ambitious girly. And so I put my, at the time, tech company, but then now coaching always on the forefront. Like that was my end all be all. That's my North Star. That's all I cared about. Until I hit the age of 30 and I was like, oh, a new decade. Let's revisit some of our values and priorities. And my boyfriend at the time, now husband, was like, I want kids. Like, we need to seriously consider this. And it took me, I would say, a good 2 years to really just come around to the idea. My husband was ready much earlier than I was. And I had to, the biggest reframe for me, and to answer your question, the lie was that I can't do both. And so the reframe was, I don't have to pick. It's not an or situation. It was an and situation. And I had to hold on to that belief. I had to brainwash myself to believe that I get to be a mom and a successful business owner. And that's honestly what got me through. And I got pregnant and here I am. Now I'm a mom.
Yeah, no, like that's so good. And honestly, if I'm being honest, that I think is one of the biggest struggles for me too. I'm 33, turning 34 years young this September, which yay. And as soon as I relate so much to like, as soon as you turn 30, you're like, oh my gosh, wait, like what else do I want? You know, because like when I turned 30, I was like, you know, going through, I think I was experiencing my dark night of the soul situation. I was at rock bottom and I was still rebuilding myself and building my business and figuring out what I wanted to do with myself, like career wise. And so I would say like around 32, after I had met Bryson, obviously, and we met when I was 31. And now we're like, okay, we're getting married in May. And now I'm like, oh, I'm like really ready. Like I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be, but it did take me to like, it took me a minute to like really get good with, okay, I can do both. This isn't like an either or situation. This is going to be, I'm going to continue to build and scale a successful business. And also, I'm going to be an incredible present mother. Like, there isn't an either or. Like, this has to be a belief that I, like you mentioned, like brainwash into my subconscious to believe. Because I feel like we were so taught that like it is either or, and you can't have the successful business and be an entrepreneur and also be a good and present mom. That's just not what we were taught. It's not what we were modeled either. The mom stayed home, the dad went to work, the mom did all the things. And I feel like now we're entering into this era where we're a team. Like we have no choice other than to be a partner with our partner. It's not, oh, you have these roles and I have these roles. We have our own roles and stuff, but like also we come together and we're there for one another and support each other on such a deeper level. And that gives us the opportunity to do both and to have both.
I will say, as you were talking, I just thought of a reel that I had just made. So I'm so happy that I hung on to that belief of I get to have both. At the same time, I had to, how do I say this? I had to stop the way I was operating in my business and rebuild and rediscover and reimagine. I'm still going through it now. My new business. And so I get to have both, but I don't think at least I don't hear anyone talking about it. There is this part in the process of where your existing business model breaks, and then you get to decide, do I rebuild in a better, more intuitive, effortless, ease, motherhood way? Or do I just like hustle harder and grind it out? And, no shade to anyone that uses nannies or babysitters, but do I get someone full time and I just keep working, So that was one of the hardest transitions that I had to go through and am still going through. But I do feel like now there's like a light at the end of the tunnel and I'm stronger because of it.
That it just leads so perfectly into the next question that I have for you of like when you became a mom, what parts of your identity as a high performing woman were challenged the most and what parts actually got stronger?
Yeah, really good question. So I hate to say this, but I think part of why I was so ambitious during my corporate 9 to 5 era, let's call it, was because I never wanted to be considered just, I'm using air quotes over here, just a stay-at-home mom. Because to your point earlier, it wasn't glorified, at least in my perspective and my upbringing. It was never like, ooh, you get to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's the thing you should go for, right? It was like, no, it's frowned upon if you're just a stay-at-home mom. And I love my mom so much, but she was a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids, did a fantastic job, but I saw her sacrifice a lot of, her career and finances and saw some pain attached to that. So I think as a little girl, when I saw that, I was like, like Miss Independent over here,
Unsubscribing from that real quick right now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when I became a mom, all of that was challenged. Right? I saw stay-at-home moms in such a new light. And now my new perspective is, whoa, they have the most important job in our society because you are raising the next generation. And unfortunately, it goes unpaid. And I could go on and on about that now and that perspective, but it's just wild to me what expectations we put on women with, okay, you should have children, but then you should also have a business, but don't expect help and do it all yourself and be superwoman, the superwoman syndrome. And so, yeah, everything about that was just flipped on its head for me right when I had my daughter. There was a huge identity crisis and I would say grieving process. I will never forget. I texted my sister and all of my best girlfriends who are now moms, especially the entrepreneurial ones, and I apologized to them. I was like, I am so sorry for just not knowing what you needed or what you were going through when you first had your child. Now that I'm on this side, I see it obviously, and I'm just sorry that I wasn't there for you. But they give, of course, so much grace and compassion. They're like, you had no idea. How could you?
Yeah.
So that's what first came up for me, was just that stay-at-home mom that was so negative and frowned upon. And now I'm just like, wow, that's the hardest job to do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I give so much credit to women who are moms and like also doing the business part of it. Like my head spins at the thought, because I've been thinking about it so much more the closer we get to the wedding. And like, I know that Bryson and I, in a dream world, will have 3 children. I know, me being a mom and of 3 and owning a business and continuing to scale it in the way that I desire to scale it is going to be a lot, and is going to require me to have help in some way, shape, or form, whether that be family or hiring a nanny or a night nanny because your girl loves her sleep. Like, I've just been thinking about this more and more and more, and it literally makes my head spin at the idea of like not being able to just like, I'm also a Virgo. I'm also very, like structured and love a routine. And I know that all of that is just going to blow up right in front of my face.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the baby's going to be like, you that bitch. Like, this is my world now.
And I'm like, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just, I feel your pain, and I give so much credit where credit is due when it comes to women who are entrepreneurial and also are moms. And it's just like so much love to you, like incredible. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And I'll definitely be messaging you like, hey, SOS when the time comes.
Yeah, honestly, I'm learning more and more with each month that passes, because there's so much change in every single month. It's wild how quickly they grow. I will say though, it's very exciting because I also know this is very temporary. So again, she's 14 months. I don't want to have 3, but I told my husband I want to stop at 2. So we are already thinking and considering a second child. And I definitely feel much more confident going into this round, let's call it. But despite the hardship and the challenges and lack of routine and all that stuff, it is so beautiful because I do know it's so temporary. And I actually get sad already about the idea of when she goes to school and she's gone all day, and maybe she'll play sports and that's after school. It's like, what am I going to do all day? So I'm being in the present moment as much as I can, knowing that this too shall pass, whether I like it or not. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. What would you say is what's keeping you present? Like, what would you say is keeping you the most present in this time? Is it just your mindset, or is there a ritual that you're doing? Like, what is it?
That's a good question as well. You have really good questions, Mikaela. My first thing that came up for me is actually the way I've structured my business. So maybe if anyone's listening and they're considering motherhood and business, or maybe they're in the thick of it now, I don't know. I'm really grateful to my past self, child free, when I restructured and built my business to support this first year in motherhood. So, what I mean by that is I significantly reduced my hours during the daytime. I have my one-on-one clients. We meet on a bi-weekly basis. And so the biggest shift I made was, instead of like some on one week, some on the other, they're all on 1 week. It's now called my call week. And so it's 1 week on, 1 week off. Now, when I say 1 week on, it's also only Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I have my Mondays open and I have my Fridays open. And so that's so beautiful because it already gives me so much white space so that I know I can be present and play with my child and go to the playground and play dates and all the things that we do, because I know work is handled, right? There's a system now, there's a structure, and I get to support my clients, and I know when the calls are, and I know when my upcoming launch is, but it's all very tailored to my calendar. A lot of breathing room in my calendar. Before it wasn't that. It was time blocked, hour after hour after hour, which I still kind of go by, but during the day, it's just a lot of white space. And so it gives me a lot of freedom to be present and to go do things with my daughter.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I might steal that whole bi-weekly thing, like,
Please
because
do.
I meet with my clients like bi-weekly as well, but like the idea of having just a week of calls, like, or 2 weeks out of the month of calls and 2 weeks like to not have calls, that sounds incredible, and I'm totally gonna take that.
Please do.
I'm taking
Steal
that.
it. Well,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing that.
Yeah, I had to do that. So again, when I was pregnant, that forced me into this solution mode of, okay, how do we restructure the business to
Mm.
support? At first, it was just thinking maternity leave for 4 months. I built that out. But then also once like month 3 hit, I was like, uh-oh, I still have this human here. She doesn't disappear after 4 months. And so that made me think, okay, how can I restructure for long term? And so now on the weeks where I don't have coaching calls, I do my podcast, or I batch my content 2 weeks in
Mm.
advance. So it's really cool to see what you can actually do when you're forced to.
Yeah. Would you say that your time management has just, because I feel like there are some women who their circumstances, allow themselves to be a victim of their circumstances, especially a victim to motherhood. And I would love to touch on that and your perspective on that, and how you have not allowed yourself to be a victim of motherhood and to just fucking get it done like the badass CEO that you are.
Ooh, I like the energy behind that one. Just fucking get it done. Yeah, I mean,
Period.
period. So I'm human and I don't have all the answers. And I'm sure there's going to be different seasons in motherhood, the older she gets and the different things she does, especially if I'm talking about a second child, or for you, a third. But given my experience with a 14-month-old, I just feel like so like I mentioned, there's a grieving process that I personally went through, and it was my identity and re-identifying. There was also, though, some, let's call it, bitterness and sadness and anger towards how our society is built. And I alluded to it earlier, the expectations that are put on mothers, because I feel so grateful and thankful for the past version of Katja, who did take the leap from her tech company, who did build her own coaching business. I'm 5 years in now, going on 6. And so I have the luxury of staying at home. I have the luxury of working from my phone and my laptop. All I need is a Wi-Fi connection. Like that's not lost on me. I know there are other moms who are like, I got to go into an office. I have to commute. I have to pump my milk so someone else can feed my baby with a bottle. Like, I get that. And I can't even imagine how much harder that is. My personal experience was angry because of that. Like, our society and the workplace and the 9 to 5, just even those hours, it doesn't make sense, because if you have kids, they go to school at 8 and they come home at 3. It's like, I'm at work 9 to 5. Like, the math isn't mathing over here. So there was anger and bitterness towards that. But I think regardless of what you're going through, at least in my mind, there's always two choices. Either I understand the reality of the situation and then I just want it more, and there's that fire in my belly and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do something with this, right? Like, rise up to the challenge, or stay in victim mode, stay in woe is me. And like, I think almost that's the easier path, because then you don't have to do anything, you don't have to change anything, you just get to point that finger. But that's not going to get you the results that you're looking for. So be angry, be sad, go through the grieving process, move through those emotions, and then go handle your shit. Go do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And then even if, I love that you brought up, the difference of like, being an entrepreneur and that past version of yourself who created the business that you have today that allows you the flexibility to create your own schedule, to work from home, where you only need a Wi-Fi connection. Like, thank God for that version of you, right? And for the person who's maybe listening to this, maybe she's a few months postpartum, maybe she's on her maternity leave from her 9 to 5, maybe she's just dreading going back. And she's sitting here thinking to herself, like, what can I do I am willing to do anything to not fucking go back, right? Like, what would you say the first 2 or 3 steps? Because I don't want to zoom out, because we tell them too much, their head's going to explode, right? But if we zoomed in and was like, okay, if you wanted to maybe start your own business or make money on the side, there's so many opportunities and ways that you could do that. But like, if we were to zoom in on what is the first step, the first maybe 2 or 3 steps that you could do to move the needle in the right direction to where you won't have to go back in 6 months, or maybe you do go back, but then you shortly quit because you're creating your own thing. Like, what would you say are those first 2 to 3 things?
In this hypothetical situation, does this person have a supporting partner? Yes.
Can we say yes? We can say yes.
Maybe I can play with both. Okay.
I was going to say, can we do both?
Yes.
Okay. So first, story 1, with partner.
With partner. So number 1, I would actually look at my finances, if I don't already know, and just see what is my roadmap, or my roadway, I should say. Meaning, if I leave my 9 to 5, how much money is in the bank that would meet my basic necessities and give me 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, right? Because we're at our job for pay. Let's be honest. It's financial oxygen. If you're already thinking about quitting and doing your own thing, you're not passionate about this job. You could care less. So we're there for money. So let's look at our money and understand what is happening in the bank accounts, understand what you need on a monthly basis, understand the math in terms of how much or how many months it buys us, and then decide. I would decide, okay, you know what? I have 6 months in savings. I'm going to decide to quit. Now, before I quit, in this partner situation, I'm going to go to them for support, not permission. And that's very, very important. Right? Period.
Clock it.
I tell this to my clients all the time, because if they're like, I need to talk to my spouse, or whatever, I'm like, absolutely. I need to talk to my spouse too, but come from a place of, I've made this decision. I need your support. versus what do you think I should do? Because you are the only one that can decide, and you have the pull, and you have the intuitive ping, and you have the desire, you have the vision. They do not. So you just have to ask for support. That's it. And then the third thing, invest into someone that's doing what you want to do. Whatever the business is on your heart, please just go find someone that already has it and see if they have a coaching program. Is it one-on-one? Is it a mastermind? Like, get yourself around those people so that we can speed up time, learn quickly, and start making money before your 6 months roadway is out. So I hope that was clear.
That was extremely clear. Yeah, that should be very, very helpful.
The
and what if they don't have?
The second scenario, step one stays the same. Check in on your money and see what you have. But if you don't have a partner to ask for support, not permission, well, then I hope you have a family member that you can reach out to. Do you have siblings? Do you have a mom, a dad, an uncle, an aunt, a best friend? I don't know. But get someone that you trust and that supports you and tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I would love your support. It's going to be really scary. If you could come help watch the baby here and there when I need to, I would really appreciate that. Like, whatever support you feel like you need, have that conversation with someone else in your circle. And then step 3 is the same. Go invest, go find a mentor, and build the business.
Yeah, exactly. That high level mentorship, that investing in things that stretch you, that make you uncomfortable, that is what's going to move the needle the quickest. Like Katja was saying, if you want to you could do it. Technically, you could do it all on your own. You could go on YouTube and watch a bunch of YouTube videos and do your best, but you're only going to move so fast. And that YouTube video isn't going to call out your shadows the way that a mentor is going to call you out and tell you whether this is a great idea or if it's dog shit. Like,
we all need someone to tell us our idea is dog shit.
We do. And if you're not ready to be told that, then you've got more work to do. Like, period. You can't let that stop you.
I'm a great example of what you just said, because I did start my own coaching business, but without a mentor. I created a $600 6-week program, had no idea what I was doing, but I had this pull, this desire, this passion. I was like, I'm going to make it happen. And 10 girls actually did sign up. I didn't have marketing. I didn't nothing. I just was so hungry for it. But $600 for 6 weeks, that doesn't go very far when you're trying to replace your 6-figure tech salary. And so it wasn't until I made that money and worked with those 10 girls where I was like, shit, how do I make fuck you money so that I can literally say that to my company and leave? And then I had to invest. It was $7,500 for a 3-month group coaching program specifically for business. And then they showed me the way. They showed me high ticket. They showed me, 6-month or 1-year container versus 6 weeks. They just gave me the structure that my business was missing. And so I don't regret doing it by myself because I learned a lot. The only thing when I reflect back is that I missed out on time. Right? It just speeds up the timeline when you invest. So I'm perfect proof of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've definitely invested in mentors, but I actually didn't have and for those of you who are saying, I don't have the money to invest in a mentor right now. Okay, well, let me tell you a little piece of my story is that I didn't either. I was thousands in debt. I had all the excuses in the world, let's just say. And the thing is that I found a way. I overheard my mentor on a podcast talk about how she reached out to her mentor to ask if they needed a assistant. And they said yes, and then in turn gave her mentorship. So I did the same exact thing. I heard that and I went intuitively, I bet, like, let's go. So I went and I messaged her in the DMs and I was like, hey, I don't have money to pay you, but I am really good at learning and I would be the best at being your virtual assistant and blah, blah, blah. And she said, yes. She said, actually, I'm like going to literally fire my current VA today. And so this couldn't be a more perfect time. And I literally started the week after. And I had worked with, yeah, and I had worked with her. I had taken her, I had invested in her program, her signature course. I had invested in a one-on-one session, like one off. And I had known like intuitively, like I have to work with her one-on-one. Like I don't know why. It was just an intuitive knowing. And I did, and I found a way. And I have multiple clients even who have said, I can't, like, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to find a way to make it happen. And I'm a firm believer in if there is a will, there is a way. Like you will make it happen. If you know, if you feel intuitively pulled, and then you do anything and everything in your power to make sure that you're doing whatever you can to get into that room, you're going to make it happen. It might not be as fast as it would if you did have, you know, whatever the amount of money is in the bank, but you will find a way to make it happen. I had a mentorship student who literally manifested 18K to work with me and pay in full for 6 months. Like
Wow.
literally didn't have an idea of how she was going to work with me and just decided and then did everything in her power to make it happen and then manifested it and got the money literally handed to her as a Christmas present. Like that's what happens when you decide.
Insane. I had no idea that that was part of your story, and that's so cool. And I completely agree. If there's a will, there's a way. It's like, just go out there and make it fucking happen. I know that's scary initially, especially if you're at the beginning of building a business or even knowing and understanding and listening to your intuition, right? But, oh my God, it's so true. If there's a will, there's a way. I couldn't agree more.
Okay, moving forward. Motherhood stretches your nervous system in a completely different way. So how did you have to change the way that you work, rest, and make decisions to stay regulated while still growing a 6-figure business? You already mentioned about like changing your schedule around and leaving more white space, but is there anything else that you would say has really changed when it comes to like staying regulated instead of like getting stressed out or overwhelmed? Or is there anything that you do when you do get stressed out or overwhelmed as a business owner and a new mom?
Yeah. I'll tell you more, two answers, micro and macro. Micro in the day-to-day, there is shit that happens with a little toddler who walks / almost runs now, that you're constantly just watching for her, right? Because one wrong move and I don't know, she cracks her head open or something. Talk about doomsday scenario. But that literally just happened. We were making lunch and I have this little toddler like step stool, and it has a railing, and she was holding onto the railing on one step, and I was making lunch, so I wasn't really paying attention, but kind of. And then of course she falls on her back, hits her head, you hear it, it's like this loud thud, screams bloody murder, and immediately as your mom, of course, like your nervous system is like, oh shit, like go run to your daughter and make sure everything is okay. And so in that moment, I have to like look and assess the situation in milliseconds, like, okay, no blood, no cracked mouths, like we're good. So then I just scoop her up. And what I've learned is that your child regulates their nervous system with your nervous system, meaning if I'm scared, nervous, and anxious, that actually translates to her and makes her feel worse. So I have to calm myself down, deep breaths, regulate myself so that it regulates her, which I think is so cool because it actually helps me as well. So that's in the day-to-day. I would answer it with breath work and being mindful of that.
Yeah, no, that's
Ma-
so good.
yeah,
So good.
macro, I have had to get better and still working on this to ask for help and put myself first again. In the beginning, it's survival mode a little bit because you're also figuring out how to take care of this human. And if you're breastfeeding, that's just a lot of time and energy and physically demanding. But now that I've been in it a little bit and I have a very supportive, loving husband who also happens to work from home, I'm very blessed in that way. So he's here all the time. And so it's for me to also ask and coordinate with him, hey, I need an hour to myself. Or, hey, I booked myself a massage. I'm going to go at 2 p.m. Or whatever I do. I just went to a hot yoga class. That's going to be now every Sunday morning. So it's those type of activities that I get to regulate myself again and just heal almost and practice the work that I preach. But I have to be very mindful and tell him, like, this is what I'm doing. Can you watch baby girl? Which, obviously that's his duty. He's a dad, but it's
Yeah.
me. It's me lessening the grip of control and knowing and trusting he's the father. He can watch her while I go treat myself to something that will help me in the long run. So,
Yeah. No, like those are amazing answers. And I'm so happy that you touched on like putting yourself first because I feel like, especially as a new mother, you're like almost wanting to take control of everything and thinking like no one can do it as good as you. Like if you're anything like me, I know that no one could do it as good as I can do it. And
yes,
so
I'm
that's
very
definitely
familiar with
something.
that.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to work on when it comes to being a mother, and remembering to put yourself first. And like, was that? I mean, it's been 14 months, but like, was that challenging in the beginning to like
Yeah.
remember? I know I need to do this for me in order to show up in the best way possible for my family.
Yes, 1,000%. And the reason is, at least again in my experience, your child needs you, the mom, more in the beginning because they know you, they know your heartbeat, they know how you smell, they know how you feel. Like the baby wants you, you are home to them. And I didn't really realize that, to be honest, until I became a mom. I was like, oh, got it. Like biologically, it's harder on me because she quite literally needs me more. And I was breastfeeding. And I understand that was a choice, but I just made it harder for myself because in the beginning, they're pretty much always on your boob. And sometimes there's that resentment that can build because you look at your husband and he has nothing to do. And you're like, I'm over here like suffering and you're just watching the game. Like, what the hell? So there was that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But
I'm like seeing my future. I'm hearing my future right now.
But in his defense, he, and this is also where I needed to heal as well, as a mom, because there's just so much that happens to you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, like on all levels. You go through such an up level, but your husband doesn't because they don't have to go through any of that. So it was a lot of communication in the beginning of like, this is how I'm feeling and I need you to hear me. I don't even know, you don't need a solution because I know you're a first time dad and you're figuring this out, but I just need you to hear me. I just need you to listen to me. I just need you to check in on me. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Like, here's water with electrolytes. Here's a donut. Here's like whatever. Like, just make sure I'm good. And that's actually the biggest advice I could give anyone if they feel like that is you take care of the kid and the dad takes care of you.
Mm.
And that was huge. So lessening the expectation of my husband also stepping in to watch the child, Like, no, he watches me, make sure I'm okay, and I have the responsibility of the child, which actually worked and made me feel better about the whole thing. It was very healing because my the feminine side of me was so taken care of by my husband. Therefore, I actually wanted to take care of my child, and I was okay being the one that was responsible for her. Now it's already changed because she's more self-reliant and playful, and now, he steps in and takes her to the playground and all that stuff. But yeah, I would say the first year, that was a huge mindset shift for me of like, oh, okay, he takes care of me, I take care of the child. And then I rose up to that challenge a little bit more. Does that answer your
Yeah.
question? I feel like I went on a tangent.
No, it does. Yeah, it was
Okay.
so good. I loved how you were kind of like, I wanted to touch on kind of like dissect that a little bit, just like
Sure.
I know that as a like high performing woman, as an entrepreneur, as like growing up and having the conditioning of like, oh, I don't want to be the full-time stay-at-home mom. I want to be Miss Independent. And then having to like become, and then not having to, but choosing to become a mother. And then almost being forced into allowing yourself to be so much in your feminine. Like,
Mhm.
what was that dynamic like? Like,
Yeah.
was that also an identity death? Like, what happened there? You know?
Totally. There was absolutely a grieving process, is what I always say, because it's almost like I had to have love for my past version and be grateful for that version that got me to where I'm at today, but also at the same time let her go. And
Mm.
that was really, really hard for me because yeah, it's a part of you that dies essentially. And that's like my past life now. And she couldn't move forward with me anymore because I still want the business and I'm still doing both. And I have big goals and big dreams. Like the ambition is still there, but I'm moving in a different way. And so that's a new version of Katja that was born after the grieving process. But I had to let that version of Katja go. And that was really, really hard. So, yeah, that I just had to shift the identity. Now, to answer more of like the feminine piece, I actually really love it.
I
I was like,
bet.
oh, my husband like just can take care of me, and maybe the responsibility of, the finances and this pressure that I used to put on myself unknowingly doesn't have to be mine anymore.
Oh, girl,
Oh.
that okay, so that's what I call the universal law of marbles. So
Ooh.
the universal law of marbles is basically like imagine you have a jar of marbles, and if
Okay.
you are taking all of the marbles from the jar, then he doesn't have any marbles. Like you're putting all the marbles in the jar. He's got no marbles. You're over here with the marbles in the jar. So there's no space for him to like help out. But when you're like forced to let go of like give him some of the marbles, then he can put more marbles in the jar too. And then you guys are adding to the jar together as opposed to one just taking them all. So like you were almost forced to give him the marbles because you had now this you little human to take care of, and
Mhm.
all of these things that you put on yourself because quote unquote no one can do it as good as you basically changed and shifted, and now you're like able to just allow him to this is something that I'm like prepping Bryson for very early. Like we just moved into our first home where like we were living in his parents' back house, you know what I'm saying? So like we didn't have electric, gas, water. Like we didn't have any of these bills to pay.
Yeah.
And immediately as we move in, I go, "All right, honey," because the old past version of me would have been like, "All right, I'm going to set up all the things that I need to set up, and I'm going to do all this and blah, 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 to take it all over." And I go, "No, absolutely fucking not." I'm like, "You're
Good
going to
for you.
call. You're going to figure out, I don't know who you need to call, but you need to figure out and set up the gas, the electric, and the trash. You go do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's all you." And he goes, okay. And I was like, figure it out, bro. Like, I'm not doing it. My hands are, I'm done. I'm making the house a home. I'm decorating. I'm buying fucking pillows for the couch. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't need to be bothered with the goddamn trash and the electric and the gas. Like, nah, that's on you. Rent is also on you. Like, obviously it goes from our account, but like set it all up for us. The bills are you. Figure it out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this. Also, kudos to you for already having this conversation because this all happened to me postpartum. I was like, this shit isn't working anymore, but you are
Yeah.
planning ahead of time. So that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I listen to my intuition, and that's why it's like I don't even realize that I'm planning ahead, but like it's intuitively I'm getting these pings of like, no, that's his job. No, that's his job. And knowing and trusting that I'm marrying a competent man who is able and willing to fucking handle his shit. You know what I'm saying? And
Totally.
to be there and to show
100%.
up for us, right? Like,
Yep.
period. So,
Yeah.
yeah, couldn't agree more there.
Yeah. No, I love that you're telling him already what he needs to be in charge of. I think also for me, it's actually so much bigger because I have a daughter and I'm so grateful and also is on my heart. Like I also had a feeling that I was going to have a girl first because it would force me to grow even more. Here's why. I want to show her how to give love, but also receive love, how to trust and also have trust in others and loosen the control. Because if I was just like this ambitious girly still, what does that teach her? You know, like, yeah, you can have ambition and make your own money and all that shit. But also, I want her to know that you get to be loved and supported and taken care of as well from your partner. And so I think the lens that I see the world in and the perspective is through her eyes now. And it's such a gift because, in a way, it's like my inner child is also healing parts that I didn't know needed to be healed because you know, it's funny. It's like I've done it before. I've done the inner child healing, but it's like, bitch, new level, new devil. Okay. There's
Yeah,
different parts that come up and rise to the surface with the
I'm
different
sure.
experiences that you go through. And so, yeah, it's really beautiful that I have her to see, like, oh, yeah, what am I showing her? What am I teaching her? And it's really, really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could only imagine. I can't for that. I actually saw one of your reels earlier this morning before we hopped on. I was like checking out your page, and I saw and really loved the one where you were just with her at the park, and you were like something about, make a lot like don't make a lot of money not for the designer
Yes.
bags or the cars or the fancy trips, but make a lot of money so that your random Tuesday can look like this, and it's just you guys at a park hanging out
Yes.
and you spending quality time with your daughter, you being there for her and being present, like that is going to be so huge and so important in
Mhm.
her life. And I mean, what like was that was there a time in your life where you were like, I want to make fuck you money because I want the designer bags and all the nice things, right? Or was it always like, no, because you were even mentioning at the beginning of this that it wasn't always like that it was more so uh, just wanting to be successful. Like, when did that shift? Did that shift when you turned 30 and you were like, okay, no, I'm going to create this business because I want to be there and be present as a mother? Or,
Yeah.
like, where did that shift come from or when?
Yeah, I would actually say I've never really been drawn to or cared about, let's call it luxury items or designer goods because my upbringing, my dad was in the Air Force. And so I grew up overseas. I was born in Germany. That's where he met my mom. I lived 6 years in Saudi Arabia. And then we came to America. And obviously, I never understood. But now when I reflect, I connect the dots and I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't care about this American, let's call it capitalism and whatever we market as important, because I just didn't grow up in that type of world. And so I'm very thankful and grateful to my parents for raising me internationally so that I could have different perspectives. But being in America then since I think it was sixth, seventh grade, and then, yeah, middle school, high school, college, that propaganda gets to you because you see money and you see big houses and you see nice cars and you see all the things. And absolutely, it's appealing and sexy. It is on purpose. And so I think part of me equated early on that in order to be successful on paper, I needed to have all of those things. But it never really felt true to me because I never cared about that stuff. So when I had money at my tech company, I noticed I never went to go buy the clothes or the bags or a car. I would go book a trip. I would go back to traveling. And that was just something that lit my soul on fire. And so I never really was drawn to that. But it's a slippery slope. I think if you don't catch yourself or if you don't know what your values are, a lot of people don't know what their values are. They don't know why they're even working for all this money or your priorities or what even matters to you, then absolutely you'll get pulled down that path because you think that's what you should buy or what you should look like. And a lot of people live that way. And that's dangerous. And I've seen that and I'm like, I don't want any part of that. I'm okay being misunderstood. I'm okay with people not knowing what's in my bank account because of the car that I drive, which is a Toyota 4Runner, and I'm going to have it for the rest of my life because I love it so much. But it's true. It's like, why do you need to know what I'm making or how I'm spending? You could think whatever you want by my lifestyle. Like, you don't know me on a personal level, and that's okay. So yeah, I've just never been pulled down that path. Thank God.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. That like your upbringing, like I had no idea about that. In your story. That's really awesome. That probably definitely has its pros and cons, but
Oh my gosh. I could go down that path if you want me to. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
The pros were what I just said. The cons were me feeling like an outsider, right? Like everyone was like, "You're from Saudi Arabia? Like, who are you?" And and my name was weird and unique, and I was tall. I'm a 6 foot girly, and so yeah, it was very like I'm a transplant, and I wasn't accepted into the small town that my dad moved us into, and so that was a lot of like, I really had to heal and figure out who I was and reconnect with Katja, my inner child, versus what that society at that time told me, or that I was the weird one, or that I was the outsider. You know, I really had to heal those parts of me. So that was the con in a nutshell.
Yeah, but even though there's such a silver lining to even the con, right? And that is that you know who the fuck you are and you don't let the noise get to you and
100%.
make you feel any way other than how you want to feel. Period.
Yeah. Period. 100%. Yeah.
100
Because
p.
I mean, yeah, full circle. I wouldn't be sitting here today with you had that not been part of my story, right? Because I think it forced me down this path of being okay by being the outsider, being alone, and being misunderstood. And so when I did decide to take that leap into entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, this is familiar. This feeling is familiar because no one else in my circle was doing this and they frowned upon it. I mean, I was leaving a tech salary that was 6 figures, 401k match, health insurance. I mean, the boxes were all checked. People are like, what the fuck are you doing? But my soul was being pulled, right? It was my calling. And it's like I went through all of that again. So yeah, absolutely. It supported me.
Wow. That like the fact that you had it all, right? You had everything that looked good on paper and you just were like, nah, this ain't it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Fuck you guys. I'm out. Like
Yeah.
what kind of, for even, and that's just because was the job that you were in like draining your soul? Like,
No, I actually, I know it's hard not to like demonize the company. It was a great tech company. My CEO, I still have a great relationship with him. He was my first mentor. So like I didn't, hire and invest, but just as a natural byproduct of being in his space and what he was building, he was my first mentor. He's the one who introduced me to Tony Robbins and took his staff to the Unleash the Power Within seminar. But no, the people were great. I think the best way I can describe it is the nature of the work. It was software, it was tech, it was sales. I just didn't give a shit for what I was selling, right? Like the conversation around the business and it was sports. It was software for sports and the ticketing they were using. I just could care less.
yeah.
I was like, I just don't give a shit. And so I think on a personal level, I knew this didn't light me up. I knew it wasn't my line of work that I could really excel at, but it was really hard. One, finding what I wanted to do, and then, of course, the courage to go and actually make it happen. So it was much more of an inner battle that I had to fight and overcome to then make that decision to leave.
Yeah. But thank God you did, because look at all the women that you're helping and also the life that you've created for yourself too.
Yeah, it's wild. And I'm so grateful, not only to my past self, but all of my mentors, all of the women that have paved the way before me. It's just wild how much you can do if you really are so hungry for it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's just the thing. You've got to be hungry for it. So for the woman listening who feels like she has to choose between being a present mom and a powerful business owner, what do you want her to know in her body, not just in her head? Like with her whole, like she just needs to resonate with this one thing. If it could be one thing.
This is coming up for me. It's a quote by Oprah. You can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. So we're ambitious girlies. We can build the business of our dreams and make the money that we want in our bank account and write the books and all the things, but trust in the timing of it all. And so being a mom, especially in the early ages, and they need you a lot in the first year, and then them being a toddler, like be present in those moments, trusting that your business, the desire, that's not going anywhere. There will be another season for it to be like, all right, let's fucking go and let's make shit happen again, if that's where you're at. But right now, yeah, trust in the timing. You can still have it all, just not all at the same time.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that. That was like a perfect way to close this off. Tell my audience, please, like, where can we find you? I'll put all of her information in the show notes below, of course, but is there any final things that you want to share, or where can we find you? What's up?
Yeah, I live on Instagram. My handle is at katya.lillian. I do also post on TikTok and YouTube, but I'm just most active on Instagram. So if you want to get to know me a little bit more, or see my free content, or if you want to shoot me a DM, I'm the one responding to the DM. So yeah, find me there and let's talk.
And I will be showing up on Katya's podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
Building Her.
All right. We will be checking out. So check out Katya's podcast, Building Her, and you'll find me there and all kinds of other free content from Katya. So definitely check her out. Katya, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so grateful that we had this conversation. It was so good. And you guys, if you are listening to this and you loved it, make sure you let us know. And you can either reach out to us in the DMs. We love hearing from you guys and hearing how this podcast episode resonated. All right. We will, per usual, chat soon. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Intuitive Flow with Mikaela Falar. If this lit something up inside of you, make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss another episode. We have new episodes coming out every week. If you love what you heard, drop a 5-star rating and review or share it with a family member or friend so that this podcast can grow and help more women rise. For more on self-love, self-image, intuition, and manifestation, come hang out with me on Instagram or TikTok at Mikaela Falar. The links are all in the show notes below. And as always, we will chat soon.